G'day legends, in this video we are going to be reacting to all the fights this weekend, and I tell you what boys, UFC Vegas 94, you are a fool if you were not looking forward to that one. What a banger. I was saying it all week. I was like, this card's going to rock. I'm hearing people talking about it. I'm like, you're just a bunch of casuals. You got to check out this card. It's going to be a banger. Never doubted it for a second. Yeah. I think I deserve, yeah. All right, look, the UFC deserves a heartfelt apology from behalf of old Dougie over here. I'm sorry. I may have said some things going into the weekend that I now regret. All right, let's get serious. I literally titled my stream for the weekend's fight cards the worst, I think I titled it the worst UFC card of all time ever stream. And someone jumped into the chat and was like, this title has aged like absolute milk. I'm reading it and thinking, oh my God, you're so right. I have really screwed this up. It was a phenomenal weekend of fights. It really was across the board. So I am sorry to the UFC for giving you so much grief going into UFC Vegas 94. There is something big that I want to talk about when it comes to reacting to these fights. I've seen some people commenting online that even though that this fight card did end up being fun, they're still not happy with it. They're saying things like, I need this to be at a high level. Just because there's knockouts on the card doesn't make it fun. Listen, man, this is a sport. We're here to be entertained. It's combat sports entertainment. We're here to be entertained by it. And quite frankly, if you're a fan of any sport, you sit down and you watch the league over the weekend. And sometimes in the league over the weekend, whether it's NBA or NFL or whatever, the bottom two teams on the ladder are going to play each other. And that game can turn out to be quite fun. This weekend at the UFC was UFC Vegas 94, 97, whatever the hell it was. It was another Apex card at the UFC a week before a big pay-per-view. It was the bottom players on the league playing each other. And it turned out to be a fun game. And sometimes that's all you need. Not every single card needs to be packed with top 15 fights. I don't think this one had any on there except for the main event. But it was still fun. So we watched the bottom of the league go ahead and play each other. And the bottom of the league had a great weekend and it was super entertaining. That's all you really need when you sit down on a Saturday night or on a Sunday for us fight fans in Australia, but for you fight fans over there in America, you sit down on a Saturday night and you have a good time. Now the Europeans, I can hear you guys complaining a mile away. Yeah, but we have to stay up until 4 a.m. It's a global sport. I'm sorry you have to stay up until 4 a.m. But the reason I bring that up is because something else happened over there called Cage Warriors. And Cage Warriors happened in London, and we watched it on the live stream while we were watching the UFC prelims because, quite frankly, the UFC did not look like it was going to be very good. So in between the walkouts and all the ESPN commercials, we sat down and we watched Cage Warriors together. Cage Warriors was phenomenal. It was so good this weekend, and it was at a reasonable time for the European fans as well. So even if you're in Europe, you were still getting really good MMA. They had a tournament style this weekend. It was phenomenal. Now, there's one particular moment in Cage Warriors that I want to highlight. Well, maybe two, actually. The big moment that I want to highlight in Cage Warriors was Daniel Crooks May and Jordan Little. Daniel Crooks May kneed Jordan Little so hard in the temple, I thought he would have killed him. Really, my reaction to it was, I was so worried for Jordan Little. I am all about knees to a grounded opponent, and that is because it makes the sport more violent, and I'm a fan of violence, so I want to see more of that. We saw the worst of what could happen with knees to a ground. We saw why it is illegal, and it really did make me question it. I'm not going to lie. When I saw that knee get launched into Little's temple, it freaked me out. I was like, oh no, this could be one of the bad ones in combat sport. So it was an instant disqualification, and fair enough. I'm still down for knees to a grounded opponent, but that one made my stomach churn a little bit. Maybe I'm getting old, boys. I don't know. The next one up was the winner of the overall tournament, Shiraz Quidan. Sorry, I was listening to it with the volume down so I could interact with the chat and focus on them. So I was watching the fights, but I was watching them with the volume down, so I don't know how to pronounce your name properly. Shiraz. I hated that he won the tournament. He won the tournament because of wet blanket wrestling, and that sucks the fun out of it for me. And I guess the theme of this weekend is fun through combat sports, and that did suck the fun out of the weekend for me. So that happened. But Cage Warriors overall, great experience. Then we get into the UFC. The prelims were god-awful. A highlight of the prelims, cut Mo Usman. Cut him. I don't care if he's winning. I don't care if he's losing. He is in the UFC because his name's Usman, and they sort of stacked the deck of tough for Usman to win it. Get rid of him. Get rid of the whole heavyweight division. Get him out of there. I mean, don't get rid of it, but god damn it. Fat heavyweights. Once again, proving my point. If I had a magic mica and I could strike through one division of the UFC, it wouldn't be a WMMA division. It would be the fat heavyweights. I think for the amount of boredom that they give us, it is not worth the fun 3 or 4 fights we get at the top of the division over the course of the year. Then the UFC main card happens and every single South Korean fighter decides that they just want to be the next Korean zombie and go full psycho mode and get into absolute scraps. Were they high level? No. Were they pub level fights? Yes. Was it fun? Oh my God, it was so good. Do not tell the North what happened in the UFC with the South Korean fighters, because the South, they're bloody ready for war, okay? And the North's whole identity is being ready for war, and they don't want any of that South Korean smoke. Those guys swung and they banged. It was phenomenal. The big highlight of it for me was seeing Do Hoi Choi finally get his win and celebrate with the team, and see TKZ there as well, getting his win, see TKZ there as well, celebrating the win with the team. It was bloody heartwarming, mate. So to me, that was the highlight of the UFC. I know that the main event ended up being great. Did I watch it live? No, that was my mistake. I should have watched it live. I screwed up. I went back and watched it. It was really good. Great grappling transitions. You know, women's arms are way more flexible than men's arms. That armbar should have snapped, but it didn't. She hung in there, tapped just before it did, I guess. Phenomenal. Great main event. Well done. The last thing that I want to get to was the boxing fight between Jake Paul and Mike Perry. Was I going for Mike Perry? Yes. Was that a smart choice? No, it's a meme fight. It was always a meme fight. It was promotional warm-up work for Jake Paul before he went and goes and fights Mike Tyson. Did Jake Paul overlook Mike Perry? Yeah, and he couldn't put him away with his classic shot that Jake Paul usually puts people away with, and then he ended up finding himself standing in front of a much tougher opponent through the 3rd and the 4th rounds. His team woke him up and told him, mate, you've got to put this guy away. You cannot lose to Mike Perry. You're 2 bloody weight classes above him. There were people in my chat, and there's people in our community in MMA talking about how embarrassing this is for MMA. It's not embarrassing for MMA at all. Mike Perry was cut from the UFC for being a subpar MMA fighter. I'm a fan of Mike Perry. I'm just saying, skill level. He's a subpar MMA fighter, and he went over to BKFC. BKFC is not for skilled boxers, it's for failed boxers. I'm a fan of BKFC, I like violence, but if we're talking skill level, it's the bottom of the barrel of all the combat sports. If you're a boxer, that means you can't handle all of the different skills that are getting thrown at you at MMA. So you're at this level. If you're a BKFC level boxer, you're down. Now, if you see me in the street and you know how to do boxing, I get it, you'll be able to sleep me. But I am a layman when it comes to combat sports. I am a fan of combat sports. When it comes to the skill level, there's MMA, there's boxing, there's BKFC. Mike Perry is this level. So it's not embarrassing for MMA fans to watch Jake Paul, 2 weight classes above Mike Perry, piece him up. It is embarrassing for the boxing community. Why is it embarrassing for the boxing community, you might ask? It's embarrassing for the boxing community because they were glazing Jake Paul. I hate that word. They were praising Jake Paul at such a high level for how well he had learnt boxing, for how good and crisp his boxing looked. It did not. It looked horrible. Jake Paul's hands looked good because he was standing in front of a heavy meat bag like Rocky Balboa in the freezer. It's that classic everyone looks like a champion in the gym. Jake Paul looks good against old, retired, smaller MMA fighters that do not know how to box. Yet the boxing community is carrying him and acting like that was phenomenal work. If anyone who knew real boxing not basic boxing, if anyone who knew real boxing fought Jake Paul at his weight class, they would destroy Jake Paul. So I don't understand why the boxing community needs to praise Jake Paul, and the commentary team and Ariel Helwani need to praise Jake Paul for how well he did. He did good. He beat Mike Perry. Great. Mike Perry is a combat athlete. Well done. But it's not like the second coming of Mike Tyson. And quite frankly, the boxing community should be embarrassed that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is going to happen. They had to delay the fight because of his health issues. What are we talking about? They had to delay Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson because Mike Tyson has health issues, and we're still talking about how this is going to be a real fight. What's embarrassing here is the world of boxing taking Jake Paul seriously at this point. Good on Jake Paul. He is picking the easiest fights he can for the most amount of money. That's a way better career choice than bricklaying or drywalling. Right? That's way easier. He works 3 times a year, gets paid millions of dollars. Good on him. But do not take that as like a serious level of competition. And all the boxing fanatics out there that are like, oh, we got another win over MMA. They didn't. Go to MMA and try that there. How did Clarissa Shields do? Really good, mate. So yeah, just chill out on that. That's the only thing that was embarrassing. But overall, how was the weekend? Fun. Leading into the weekend, so many combat sports fans were saying, I cannot believe that the only thing I have to look forward to this weekend is Jake Paul versus Mike Perry, a main fight. Coming out of the weekend, what did we have? We had a phenomenal Cage Warriors card, a phenomenal UFC card. High level? No. Fun? Yes. Sport? That's all it needs to be. Fun. And Jake Paul versus Mike Perry ended up having more slobber knockers than we deserved. Ended up being great fun. That is the reaction and the review of the weekend. Let me know what you thought about it down there in the comments. If you like this video, give it a like so the channel pushes out to a newer and greater audience and we can all grow this together. Until then, I will see you all in the next video.